Hi, Thomas Hallock here, University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. Today's 3-minute lesson for a road course in early American literature is on Emily Dickinson's poem, I Felt a Funeral in My Brain. A lot of people know that song. A lot of people also know that Emily Dickinson can be sung to many different tunes. Yellow Rose of Texas. I felt a funeral in my brain with logic to and fro. Pounding constantly until the sense broke through. It can be sung to Gilligan's Island. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb. My favorite is Amazing Grace, and then I heard them lift a voice and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll. It goes on and on and on. Do your ears hang low? Battle Hymn of the Republic. I don't know. Try it out when you're jogging. But the last two lines, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I in silence some strange race, wrecked solitary here. And then a plank and reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a word at every plunge, and finished knowing then. Now, the thing about Emily Dickinson that I would like to think about today is the different versions of her poem and how it's been sliced and diced. So let's take a look at that. The poem was first published in 1896, put together by Mabel Loomis Todd. And if you notice in this version, in the original version, the last two stanzas are lopped off. So it becomes just a kind of funeral piece. You'll also notice that Mabel Loomis Todd gives it very regular beats. She indents the second line and the fourth line, the sixth line, the eighth line, breaks it up into a very conventional form. Again, lops off the last two stanzas so it becomes a standard funeral piece. There was a change in 1955 when a scholar named Thomas Johnson prepared for years, my generation, what was the definitive edition of Emily Dickinson. And if you notice, he restored the last two stanzas as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I in silence some strange race wrecked solitary here, and then a plank and reason broke. So it's not just a funeral ditty, but it's a poem ultimately about knowing. But there's a couple of things that Johnson did. If you notice, he standardized the lines. So again, it reads much more like that sing-songy thing that comes from the hymn books that Emily Dickinson would have been modeling her poems after. He also takes the variants of the poems, the different ways in which it could be read, and he makes a decision. He decides which version we have. If you notice on the bottom, plunge could be crash, finish could be got through. It's not until really 1998 when someone named Ralph Franklin finally prepared a fascicle, or the books of Emily Dickinson, as she sewed them up herself, as she prepared the manuscript. And if you look at the version here, I really like the lineation, the way that Franklin preserves how the lines read, and then a plank and reason broke, and I dropped down and hit a word at every plunge, and hit a word and finished knowing, and then crash got through. So it's kind of like the drum set falls apart in the poem, but also the way in which the tumbling quality of the poem replicates that, and it breaks up that sing-song equality. So what's in this? What I would like you to think about is, even with the most familiar poems, with any text really, I would like you to think, where does your text come from? Trace down the variants, trace down the different versions. This is really important in our own cut and paste world, as we're getting information, as we're getting movies, TV shows, in different chopped and sliced and diced versions. A lot of times we're not hearing Emily Dickinson. What we're hearing is the scholars Emily Dickinson. And you know, who wants that? We don't want the scholars. We want the poets. That's all I have to say. Peace out.